What's hiding inside an anonymous man's freezer? A discovery so horrifying it sent shivers across the internet. Who or what stalked a young man through the woods, leaving behind evidence no one could explain? And how about the killer who boasted about his brutal crime and left the photographs online forever? Welcome to the wild world of 4chan. On today's episode of The Infographic Show, we're diving into some of the most disturbing threads ever posted on the site. Number 8. In 2012, an anonymous user posted a mysterious thread, one that vanished not long after, apparently deleted by the site's mods. The poster's granddad had recently passed away at the ripe old age of 89, a private man with even more private hobbies. He'd been a Navy grunt in World War II, and according to the poster's mom, the war changed him for the worse. After returning from deployment, he grew increasingly paranoid, fixated on the idea of apocalyptic nuclear war between the US and the USSR. He developed a plan to carve an underground bunker into a limestone cavern on his property. When the bomb started to fall, he and his loved ones could weather the death of the world. In 1965, his wife, the poster's grandma, died suddenly under mysterious circumstances. After that, all Granddad had left was his bunker project. The poster's mom didn't like leaving him alone with his clearly unwell grandfather, which is kind of understandable. Once during the poster's childhood, he got to ask his granddad about the bunker, something that had always fascinated him. Granddad told him never to go in there because, in his words, the place was just a damn ossuaire. 3 strange little words with no apparent meaning, but it was all the poster could remember his granddad saying. But after the old man died, the time came to assess his assets, which included his land and everything on it. This gave the poster, now an adult, an unprecedented chance to explore the bunker that had fascinated him for his entire childhood. But he had no idea just how strange and disturbing the secrets that the bunker had in store for him really were. He posted about the experience step by step on 4chan, complete with photos, and had other denizens of the board fascinated by his discoveries. His granddad had dug deep over his long lifetime, carving out a long dark hallway that ended at a rusty iron door tangled in barbed wire. Using a heavy rock to smash the old padlock and a shovel to pry it open, he stepped inside. The poster had expected canned food, board games, and books to pass the time, maybe even some weapons or gas masks, but that wasn't what greeted him. Instead, he found a strange hand-carved chapel, a small nook where his granddad might have prayed. But the rest of the bunker cast serious doubt on who or what he had been praying to. There were 7 human faces carved intricately into the walls and ceiling, one of these faces simply being a skull, and on the ground below, bones, human bones, sticking out of the dust and the earth. The poster was horrified at just how many of them there were down there. And then he heard what he could have sworn was a quiet laughing sound in the corner of the room. He bolted out of the bunker after that, thoroughly shaken. One chanter gave a theory as to what Anon's granddad was saying all those years ago. The place was an ossuary, a container for the bones of the dead. The thread was mysteriously nuked after that, and the poster never returned. To this day, the nature of Grandpa's bunker remains a mystery. But what isn't a mystery is how downright terrifying our next thread is. Number 7. UTV was an average 4chan user and was often found on the site's sports boards, mostly chatting about the British Premier League and other major leagues. We know a few things about UTV, like his nationality, his interests, and the fact that his name is Phil, all from the fact that he chooses to use a trip code. For Gen Zers who have never used an anonymous forum in your life, a trip code is a kind of personal signature. It's a way for someone to link all of your disparate posts together, not that most people would really care to do so. Then again, the archiver wasn't like most people. His name may sound like something you would give a Batman villain, but believe us when we say that this guy earns it. At some point, he became obsessed with UTV and began obsessively archiving his posts. If it stopped there, sure, it would have been a little weird or creepy, but the archiver, despite his name, does not stop at just archiving. He wrote poems and original songs about UTV, and then started making collages and Rorschach tests from his posts. He even drew detailed floor plans of an apartment they could share, mapped out a Comedy Central-style roast in UTV's honor, and planned his eventual funeral. Printed copies of UTV's posts covered the walls of his home. He wrote a fictional TV pilot script where the two of them are detectives solving cases together, and so much more. He compiled all of this into a book-length manifesto that he called the Filmarillion, a play on the Silmarillion, a collection of myths and stories of the world of Middle-earth by J.R.R. Tolkien. Why on earth would anyone do this? This actually isn't that mysterious at all. On the first page of his 97-page tribute to obsession and insanity, the archiver explained exactly why he had done it, in a speech that reads like something straight out of a horror movie stalker's diary. UTV is my passion, my hobby, and my social life. I love him and I love archiving his posts. Nothing can top the feeling, the incredible happiness, which I get when I see him post. Writing about him will only feed my appetite for UTV. Hopefully, the archiver never finds Phil in real life, and if he does, there's no guarantee what he'll do. But there is one thing you can say about the archiver that you can't say about the subject of our next post. At least he doesn't have supernatural powers. Number 6. Not every disturbing 4chan post is about a weird grandpa or a deranged stalker. Sometimes the horrors of 4chan skew a lot more straight-up paranormal. That was the case with the story of a user named Anansi, posted on 4chan's X board, the forum dedicated to all things paranormal. And few stories are more infamous or more terrifying than this one. At the time, Anansi was a 16-year-old black teen from Chicago. While visiting his family in Huntsville, Alabama, Anansi stayed in a remote wooded area where his uncle owned a massive piece of hunting land. It seemed like the perfect place for a simple camping trip, until it wasn't. They were in for the most terrifying night of their life. It started with a strange smell like ozone, the scent that hangs in the air after a lightning strike. And then Anansi and his cousin saw a man and his son exit the woods with a shotgun. The man, a friend of Anansi's uncle, gave the group a grim warning: "Be careful out there. There's some kind of large animal lurking in the woods." The hunter's son, Tanner, decided to tag along with Anansi and his group, bringing his shotgun with him. While the night started off fun, it didn't take long for that eerie smell to return, a coppery stench almost but not quite like dried blood. One of Tanner's father's pigs had recently been attacked and eaten, probably by a large predator, judging by the state of the carcass. The group went to the trailer that Anansi's uncle owned. They locked themselves inside, and one of Anansi's younger cousins told them about an eerie local legend, the Goatman, an indigenous spirit said to mimic the voices and shapes of the people it meets. But this wasn't just a campfire story. Over the next 24 hours, the Goatman began to stalk them. Then came a horrifying realization. One of the cousins noticed there were too many people in the trailer. The Goatman wasn't outside, it was inside, standing right next to them. The group bolted from the trailer in absolute horror, but the Goatman was far from done. It tried to trick them, to split them, maybe hoping to lure one of its prey away from the group. But Anansi and the others stuck together, feeling the creature's presence shadowing them until the very moment they left the woods. And even then, Anansi swore that he could still feel it walking beside them. And while you may not believe in the supernatural, our next entry could very possibly be real, and also could be extremely disturbing. Number 5. Lost media is one of the biggest internet sensations of the 2020s. It hunts for obscure movies, TV shows, and even commercials that have fallen through the cracks, and it's become a point of fascination for millions of hunters and spectators. One of the darkest stories of lost media began on 4chan's X board. A user shared his memory of seeing something that he had never been able to forget, even if he wished he could. It began when he was browsing the deep web. That's how all the most fun stories begin, when he happened upon a file for an obscure anime OVA. For those not deep enough into the weeb cave to know, an OVA is an original video animation. Anime made specifically for home release without the restrictions that come with airing on TV first. Some of them can be incredibly explicit, violent, and disturbing. And the anime that this channer found, either called Go for a Punch or Saki Sanabashi, fits that description. It depicted a Saw-esque scenario where a series of young women were trapped in a bathroom with no visible entrance or exit. They had no idea who locked them down there. They mulled over the philosophy of their situation, but eventually desperation and fear drove them to horrific violence, and in the end it left them all dead. Nobody had any idea whether this was real or some elaborate prank, but it set the lost media community ablaze. After all, the internet is a big place, and thousands of anime OVAs have been made by companies of various sizes since Japan's economic boom in the 1980s. Who is to say that Saki Sanabashi couldn't be out there? Stranger things have happened. Despite the massive search, nothing has ever been found that truly matches the original channer's description. But that doesn't mean it's not out there, just waiting to be discovered and leaving more people scarred by what they can't unsee. Our next phenomenon, on the other hand, is something you really wouldn't want to be the one to discover, and it all started on 4chan. Number 4. As a concept, the Backrooms might be the most famous entry on this list. It took the internet by storm throughout the 2020s, but there's a lot you probably don't know about its origins, including how it all began with a single 4chan thread. An anon on the export started a thread with the title "Post Disquieting Images That Just Feel Off," hoping to see which pictures gave the freaks and geeks of 4chan the willies. Another user partway down the thread posted an iconic image that you have likely seen by now: a large carpeted room with fluorescent lights overhead, separated by dividers covered in eerie yellow wallpaper. Something about this mysterious image struck a chord with the people. Another user even got creative, replying to the image with, "If you no-clip out of reality in the wrong areas, you'll end up in the back rooms, where it's nothing but the stink of old moist carpet, the madness of mono yellow, the endless background noise of fluorescent lights at maximum hum buzz. God save you if you hear something wandering around nearby, because it sure as hell has heard you." And in that moment, history was made, all thanks to people goofing off on the 4chan exports. New internet folklore was launched, a terrifying extra-dimensional prison built out of liminal spaces and half-formed memories. It inspired countless wikis, creepypastas, short films, video games, and theory videos about the different creatures that might inhabit its various levels. It even launched the career of a young filmmaker named Kane Parsons, who's got a movie deal for an official Backrooms film with A24. You might be wondering, what exactly was the original image anyway? The original Backrooms image was actually a shot taken of a Wisconsin furniture store that was in the middle of renovations back in 2002. The image of the emptied-out, water-damaged building was posted on a blog around that time, and it has since been bought and turned into an indoor remote-controlled racing car track. And to think all those people running radio-controlled cars have no idea they're racing in the Backrooms. And if that one made you feel freaky in an existential sense, then this next one is gonna downright disgust you. Number 3. Back in the dark year of 2007, just 20 days before Christmas, an anon posted the immortal sentence, "What does B keep in the freezer?" Guess what's in mine? Clearly, this was always going to be a disaster. In the beginning, the responses were the typical sarcasm you could expect from 4chan users. Suggestions included a cat, a cake, and of course urine. But of course, it was only a matter of time until someone replied with the obvious answer, a body. And when someone did, OP replied, "Well done," along with a photo of a freezer-burned human leg lying in a pile of garbage bags. But given the nature of the internet in 2007, cries of fake were quickly poured onto the potential dismemberer. The burden of proof was on him to prove that he really did have cut-up body parts in the freezer. In response to this, the OP, which might in this case stand for openly psychopathic, decided to post more photos of cut-up bodies lying in a pile of garbage bags. In one photo, he's given a thumbs up in front of the bodies, with B and the date scrawled on his wrist in Sharpie. Reverse image searches on the limbs turned up nothing, meaning in all likelihood the pictures were his. Debate has raged since on whether the limbs were real. Some have argued that maybe the OP was a special effects expert doing a little trolling. Severed leg experts, yes, that's a real thing, have said that if the photos are fake, then they are extremely convincing, right down to the signs of freezer burn on the victim's skin. Others speculate that perhaps he is a morgue worker or an amputee who was allowed to keep his removed limbs, which is permissible in some cases. Of course, there's also the option that he's a killer and/or cannibal, but we've got no way of knowing unless he decided to start posting again almost 2 decades later. That, or we see him on the news when the authorities find what he's been keeping in those garbage bags. What is the deal with that poster and his freezer? What the deal was with that poster and his freezer is still a mystery, but the mystery of a lone weirdo is pretty small potatoes compared to a sprawling conspiracy that some think involved secret societies and even the CIA. Number 2. Between 2012 and 2014, a series of 8 mysterious puzzles were posted to 4chan by a mysterious group known as Cicada 3301. The message, posted along with the first test, a black background with white text, simply read, "Hello, we are looking for highly intelligent individuals. To find them, we have devised a test. There is a message hidden in this image. Find it, and it will lead you on the road to finding us. Good luck, 3301. With each test, the puzzles got harder and more obscure. Some involved knowledge of medieval manuscripts and obscure cyberpunk novels. Others involved international travel. Everyone who made it through each round was questioned on their knowledge of information security, computer programming, and censorship. Some of the puzzles were never solved, and to this day we don't actually know who the people behind Cicada 3301 truly were. Theories from netizens have ranged from the CIA looking for new recruits to the Illuminati to secretive hacker groups or information security firms, or maybe some unholy mix of them all. If someone did secretly make it through the full gauntlet without letting the internet know about their achievement, chances are they're almost definitely not in a position to tell us now. What's captivating about Cicada 3301 is everything we don't know, but it's nothing compared to the horrors that we know for certain happened in our ultimate disturbing 4chan post. Number 1. In a list full of strange and disturbing accounts, nothing even comes close to the actions of David Michael Kalak, a man who has since become known as the 4chan Killer. You might think that you have the story right there on the name alone, but the details are where it somehow gets even more sickening to find out about. In 2014, Kalak decided to murder his live-in girlfriend, Amber Lynn Coplin, who was a single mother 3 years his junior. He strangled her to death, stripped her corpse, and defaced the room around her. He left her driver's license next to her head with the word "dead" scrawled across it, and wrote "bad news" on the blinds and "she killed me first" on the bedroom walls. This would be disturbing enough, but then he took photos of her body and posted them to 4chan. These came with the chilling caption, "Turns out it's way harder to strangle someone to death than it looks in the movies." And if that wasn't horrifying enough, he followed it up with, "Check the news for Port Orchard, Washington in a few hours. Her son will be home from school soon. He'll find her, then call the cops. I just wanted to share the pics." Sadly, Kalak's prediction did come true. Coplin's body was discovered by her teenage son. In a blind panic, he called his dad, who then arrived at the scene and called the police. Kalak would later be arrested and sentenced to over 80 years in jail for his despicable crime. But the damage was done. The photos of Amber Lynn Coplin's body are still out there, and they always will be. She'll never have the privacy and dignity she deserves after being the victim of such an awful atrocity. And that's why this is the most disturbing post on 4chan. Those 4chan threads were disturbing enough, but that is nothing compared to what's lurking deeper online. Watch This Is Why You Really Shouldn't Be on the Dark Web to see what happens when curiosity goes too far, or click on this video instead.